morning, team. Thank you so much for jumping on the call. On this episode of my Monday Morning Pep Talk, I will take you through the bedrock principles of marketing and selling a property. The changes coming to our industry has put a renewed focus back on execution. And you'll be able to use some of these bedrock principles as you revamp your listing presentation and processes over the coming weeks and months. The successful launch of a property to market will not change, but it could be disrupted if not executed properly. But before I get into the meat of the call, I want to remind you of my professional purpose, and that is to help you, the broker advisor, optimize your productivity and help you become the best version of yourself, because happy brokers sell more real estate. I do that by helping you handle challenges and opportunities that you face every single day, right? Not just in your business, but in your life. You'll be more productive and live a life that is the best version of you, okay? So my ask is that you listen to this call as if we are on a one-on-one coaching session, whether it be in my office or on a phone call. And for those of you out walking with your pets, in your car, listening to the podcast or YouTube, I appreciate it. Thanks for joining me today. As we talk about these bedrock principles, we don't have to look too far for a perfect example on how to sell high price ticket items. The ownership of a home will be the largest asset most people will ever own. On March 11th, 1744, Sotheby's got its start in London. The company was established by Samuel Baker, and he was a bookseller who held the first ever auction under his own name in London. Initially, Sotheby's focused primarily on selling books, manuscripts, and rare documents. However, as the business grew, it expanded its offerings to include fine art, antiques, jewelry, and other collectibles. The auction house quickly gained a reputation for its expertise, integrity, and exceptional service, attracting a prestigious clientele of collectors, dealers, and connoisseurs. In 1804, Samuel Baker's nephew, John Sotheby, joined the business, and the firm became known as Baker and Sotheby. John's son, Samuel Sotheby, eventually took over the company, and in 1861, it officially adopted the name Sotheby and Company. Over the years, Sotheby's continued to thrive, establishing itself as a global leader in the auction industry. Throughout its history, Sotheby's has facilitated the sale of some of the most valuable and iconic works of art and collectibles and paintings, as well as rare manuscripts, historic artifacts, and modern masterpieces. The auction house has played a pivotal role in shaping the art market and setting world-breaking prices for exceptional pieces. In 1976, Sotheby's entered the world of real estate brokerage. Real estate brokerage, in reality, is a form of the auction process. Each time we launch a listing, we start with the goal of getting as many buyers as possible to quote unquote raise their paddles. As the number of bidders increase, the odds of a successful listing launch for our sellers also increases. Successful listing launches, which is essentially creating the maximum amount of bidders for our sellers, almost always comes down to the 3 P's: people, property, and price. Let's start with people. In the changing real estate brokerage landscape, where commissions will be at the forefront of most discussions, your ability to project your value, your marketing reach, your negotiating talent, your operational skills, your network of service providers, and your processes will be what will protect and improve your professional fee for services provided. The better you can explain your listing launch process and the people involved, the fee you collect. People also includes the seller, your client. Your ability to explain to them that they need to be a partner with you in the launch is paramount. A well-informed and supportive seller will have a huge impact on whether the launch will be successful or not. How the property shows And the access you have to show the property directly impacts momentum and the number of bidders. Their level of commitment to the process should dictate whether or not it is a good fit for you and your time. People also includes the buyer's agent. A talented buyer's agent provides advice, support, and comfort for the buyer, allowing for a higher contract to close. The last thing a seller wants to do is go back on the market or back to auction to drive new bidders back to the property. That almost always results in a price drop. Let's go on to the second P, which is property. If the property shows well, you increase the number of qualified and interested buyers and bidders. If the property does not show well, your buyer pool drops off dramatically. This has always been the case and is at the top of the page in Real Estate Brokerage 101. If you want buyers to raise their paddle, the seller, with your help and direction, needs to create a visual which allows the buyer to see themselves living in the property. If that is not accomplished, it will need to be reflected in the listing price for the launch to be successful. No broker or seller will ever be smarter than the market. Going to market as close to the appraised final value will drive the highest amount of buyers to raise their paddle. If you go to the market too high, your seller most likely will be the only bidder in the auction, which will require the seller to eventually drop the price of the property until more bidders show up. Establishing a launch price as close to right from the beginning creates the crucial initial momentum. Human psychology dictates that a buyer will want what other buyers also want, enticing them to raise the paddle and to compete for it. If the property sits on the market, it tells potentially interested buyers that something is wrong with it, dampening the mood of the buyer pool. Sotheby's, the auction house, has mastered this concept. They have an incredibly sophisticated appraisal process for their offerings before any item goes to auction, resulting in getting more collectors to raise their paddle, creating a competition that lifts the price of the offering. Throughout its history, if a seller is fixated on a price that is over what the market will provide, they have two choices. They can join the market with a well-priced property or just wait until the market moves to their price. The latter could take months or years. Those that win in this new real estate brokerage environment will need to be best in class in the 3 Ps, especially as we saw today with working with sellers and launching their listings. Is it possible that you can use some of these concepts I discussed today as talking points in your listing presentations? I think so. Raising the paddle is a powerful metaphor. Next week, I'm going to talk more specifically about the NAR settlement and how that impacts the seller, its overall impact on successful real estate launches and how to further entice buyers to raise their paddle. Let me ask you this simple question. If a seller opts not to offer a buyer agent commission, will that increase the amount of buyers in the buyer pool or decrease it? I think we know the answer. More on that next week. As I wrap up, remember, no seller or listing agent is smarter than the market. Selling properties is an art form. You've got to get the 3 Ps right when launching a listing. Your ability to explain that to your sellers and execute on it will protect and increase your fee for services offered that will most likely allow you to take market share. We want to take that market share that we most desire. Team, I'm really going to start pushing you to YouTube, our YouTube channel. Go there, subscribe at Ask Jim Miller. It's where I learned and self-taught to get to this point, and I felt obligated to put my best content there. If you're wanting to get on my weekly email, just go to my Instagram or my website or send me an email at jim@askjimmiller.com, and I'm going to get